Most women have stood in a room they care about deeply, a room they've invested time and money and thought into, and felt it. A quiet frustration. The room looks fine, maybe even beautiful in parts, but it doesn't quite look the way you imagined it would. Something's off, and you can't say what, so you adjust. You add something, you move something, you repaint, you try again, and still, it doesn't feel like the space you know it can be. The fear underneath that frustration is rarely spoken aloud. What if I never get this right? Here's what I want you to know. The problem almost certainly isn't your taste, it isn't your budget, and it isn't your home. It's likely that nobody ever gave you the specific lens to look through, the precise things to evaluate so that you could see exactly what's working and what isn't. Today, that changes. Welcome back to Gracefully Lori. I'm Lori. If you're new here, this channel is for women who want to live authentically, express themselves with intention, and move through the world with quiet, modern grace. On this channel, we've talked about what graceful, elegant homes look like, the principles behind spaces that feel effortlessly composed, and the elements that create quiet luxury. Today, we take the next step. Because understanding what makes a home elegant is one thing, being able to walk into a room and see clearly what it needs, that's another. Today, I'm sharing a 7-step room audit, a specific practical lens you can apply to any room in your home to understand exactly what's creating the feeling you want and what's quietly working against it. Not abstract principles, specific things to look for. And I've created a downloadable worksheet you can find in the description, so you can walk through each room in your home and actually use what we cover today. Step 1, flow and layout. Before color, before lighting, before a single decorative choice, the way a room is arranged either supports how you actually live in it or quietly works against you. And most women don't realize their layout is the problem because they've been living around it for so long that it feels normal. Try standing at the entrance of your room and notice where your eyes go first. Is there a natural focal point that anchors the space? Or does your gaze move around without settling? A room without a clear focal point feels uncertain, even when nothing obvious is wrong. Trace the natural path through the room. Can you move through it without navigating around furniture? Are pieces arranged to support that movement or placed for appearance, creating certain strain every time you walk through? And scale. Does the furniture relate proportionally to the size of the room? A single oversized piece can make an entire room feel cramped. A room of pieces that are too small feels unsettled and unfinished. One of my persistent layout challenges has been the open concept floor plan. The freedom of open space is wonderful, but without thoughtful arrangement, a large area can feel undifferentiated rather than a series of connected, considered spaces. The solution isn't walls, it's definition. Area rugs create visual zones within the larger space, each one signaling its own purpose while connecting the whole. And in one space where the sofa sat at the end of the room, I directly placed a narrow table directly behind it facing outward, which created an intimate gathering area that felt contained and conversational. People naturally gravitated towards it. The room didn't change, the arrangement did, and everything felt more intentional. When your layout works with the architecture, when furniture defines the space rather than simply filling it, the room settles. And a settled room is the foundation everything else is built on. Step 2, color cohesion. Most women approach color one room at a time. They find a palette they love for the living room, starting fresh for the kitchen, and then again for the bedroom. Every space may be beautiful individually, but moving through the home feels like stepping between environments rather than one considered whole. Color cohesion isn't about making everything match. It's about making everything connect. Start with undertones. Every color has an underlying temperature, warm, cool, or neutral. When undertones conflict, the space feels slightly off even when the colors themselves are attractive. When undertone aligns, the room settles. Then value and saturation. Is there a range of light and dark, or does everything sit at the same visual weight? When values vary, a deeper anchor here, a lighter element here, the room develops depth. Finally, continuity across the spaces. Walk to the doorway and look at the adjacent room. Do they feel connected? Sharing a color signal even if not the same palette. In my own home, I work with 3 primary colors. but never the same way twice. In one room, a color is dominant. In another, it appears as an accent. The colors share undertones and similar saturation, so they look cohesive even though the rooms feel distinct. My kitchen illustrates this most clearly. I deliberately chose different colors for the island and base cabinets. The pantry door and deck doors introduced a stronger, darker version of one primary color. The result, visually interesting, every element related, but nothing identical. Cohesion doesn't mean sameness. It means harmony within variation. When you achieve it, the home feels designed rather than decorated. Step 3, light. A room can have beautiful bones and a considered palette and still feel wrong. Often the culprit is light, not the absence of it, the way it's managed, or isn't. So first, the sources. Does the room rely on a single overhead fixture? One source flattens a room the way a single bulb flattens the face. Elegant rooms have multiple sources at different heights. A floor lamp, a table lamp, perhaps an accent light. Each creates a warm pool that gives the room dimension. Second, temperature. Are light sources working together or fighting each other? A warm incandescent lamp next to a cool daylight bulb creates subtle discord. Temperatures don't need to be identical, but they need to be compatible. Third, natural light. Stand in the room at different times of the day. Where does the light fall in the morning? The afternoon. Are there moments when it becomes harsh, creating glare, washing out a surface, flooding a corner you want intimate? Managing natural light isn't about blocking it, it's about shaping it. In my library, with windows on two sides of the room, the natural light is one of the greatest qualities I have in the room. But the morning sun is intense enough that without management, the room lost the cozy quality I wanted for certain hours. Standard shears would have diffused the light, but not managed the brightness to the level that I needed. My solution was bright white drapes, chosen with their specific opacity. White maintained the illusion of light throughout the room. The fabric gave me control over how much came through, softening intensity in the morning and creating intimacy in the evening. The right window treatment isn't just decorative. It's how you control a room's atmosphere across an entire day. Step 4, texture and material depth. A room can be perfectly arranged, cohesively colored, and beautifully lit, and still feel flat. When that happens, texture is almost always the missing layer. Count the distinct surfaces in the room. Not the pieces of furniture, the surfaces, smooth, wood, matte fabric, polished glass, rough linen, soft velvet. When every surface behaves the same way, reflects light the same way, feels the same to the touch, the room loses depth. Look specifically for contrast. Hard against soft, smooth against rough, matte against sheen. These pairings give a room its visual complexity, the quality that makes you want to keep looking. And look at what's dominating. If one material type is taking over, that's where the flatness comes from. The correction is rarely dramatic. A chunky knit throw over a smooth sofa, a ceramic vase on a wood surface, some additions of contrast that change the entire room's character. In my own home, I work with marble, glass, velvet, silk, wood, ceramic, across major pieces and small ones. The goal is making sure no single surface type dominates so completely that the room loses its depth. When texture is layered deliberately and with intention, this can become the most elegant quality a room can have. Step 5, visual noise. Walk into the room and let your eye move naturally. Where does it catch? Not what draws it with beauty, but what snags it. The remote controls on the coffee table, the tissue box in cardboard packaging, the keys on the counter, the stacked things that accumulated in a corner without ever quite finding a home. Visual noise is the enemy of an elegant room. Not because practical things are wrong. A home that looks unlived in feels sterile. But when practical items are unmanaged, they fracture visual coherence and create friction every time you enter the room. So ask 3 questions. What's visible that doesn't need to be? Every item on a surface is a choice, intentional or accumulated. Walk through with honest eyes. What's visible that could be elevated? The tissue box that could sit in a ceramic holder, the remotes in a coordinated tray, the keys on a considered dish. These aren't expensive changes. They're intentional ones. What's being tolerated? The thing you learn to look past. The item that doesn't quite belong but has never felt urgent enough to address. These are the quiet drags on a room's elegance. Invisible individually, cumulative in effect. The goal isn't a room that doesn't look lived in. It's a room where everything visible was thoughtfully considered. Step 6, sensory experience. Now stop looking at the room for a moment. Close your eyes. What do you notice and what have you missed when just looking at the room? The sensory experience of a room shapes how you experience it as profoundly as anything you see. Scent first, the most immediate and overlooked. Does the room have a signature scent or simply smell like nothing? A consistent scent creates sensory memory. Guests remember how your home smelled long after they've forgotten what they saw. Sound next. Hard surfaces bounce sound and make a room feel cold and echoey. Soft surfaces, rugs, upholstered furniture, curtains, throws, absorb sound and create warmth. If a room feels acoustically harsh, it often needs more soft surfaces rather than more decor. Then physical texture. Is there something that invites touch? A throw you want to reach for? A cushion that feels as good as it looks? These invitations to touch make a room feel great rather than just simply presentable. Finally, botanical life. Something living or something that suggests life. Fresh flowers where possible, carefully chosen silk where practical. These elements change the energy of a room in a way no object can replicate. A room that engages all the senses is a memorable one. That's not decoration, that's presence. Step 7, personal signature. This is the final layer, and in some ways the most important, because a room can be technically elegant but feel impersonal. So the question here isn't whether the room is beautiful, it's rather it's yours. Does this room feel like you today? Not the you of 5 years ago, or the one who inherited an item that doesn't feel like you. Homes accumulate the past, former versions of taste, items kept out of guilt or habit. But a graceful room reflects who she is now. Is there one piece that leads? Every elegant room has an anchor, something the eye naturally tends to find first that sets the tone for everything around it. If the room has no anchor, everything competes and nothing wins. Are there personal touches that make it unmistakably yours? The book left open on a side table, the object from a place that changed her, the photograph or piece of art that makes her smile. These transform a well-designed room into one that feels like her. Are there things being tolerated? The item she's never loved but kept. The item that made sense once but doesn't anymore. Removing them is often the single most impactful thing she can do. The result of doing these things, a room that is both elegant and personal. And that, more than any design principle, is what creates the kind of home she walks into and exhales. Not because it's perfect, because it's hers. Creating an elegant room isn't a mystery. It's the result of certain things working together. Flow that actually supports how you live. Color that connects without matching. Light that shapes the room atmosphere across the day. Texture that gives the space its depth. Functional items elevated rather than tolerated. A sensory experience that is unique and memorable. And a personal signature that makes it unmistakably yours. 7 things to look for, one room at a time. The worksheet in the description will walk you through each step, room by room, so nothing gets missed. Because the home you're imagining isn't out of reach. You just need to know what to look for. I'd love to know which of these 7 areas feels most relevant to a room you're living with right now. Please share with me in the comments. I enjoy hearing your stories. And if you found this valuable, please like the video and consider subscribing. It helps other women find this content that might be meaningful for them too. Until next time, my graceful friends.